The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, will deliver her autumn budget on November the 26th, and given the deep financial constraints she appears to be under, Make UK is anticipating the event with some concern. Yes, in June this year, the government did deliver a very positive framework for a new industrial strategy, but that was against the backdrop of the Chancellor raising employers' national insurance contributions at her first budget in October last year. I'm joined by Verity Davidge. Verity, I imagine Make UK's messaging to the government pre-budget is yes to anything that supports the industrial strategy, but an emphatic no to anything that comes even close to resembling what she did with employers' contributions last year.
I think that's an excellent summary, Nick. I think, businesses' experiences from the last 12 months are very mixed. After the autumn 2024 budget, businesses was hit very badly with, as you say, that combination of the NICS changes to inheritance tax. And then following that, we saw, additional cost burden in the form of increases to the national living wage. So all of those cost pressures were really impacting businesses. Then June came of this year, and we finally had that long-awaited industrial strategy. And I think one of the positives for me that we have seen of that in our investment monitor is that actually a third of companies plan to increase investment on the back of the industrial strategy. Now, all of that sounds great. However, the big but is, of course, what comes with the budget. So the sort of top ask for Make UK, alongside many other, business groups, is simply do not increase the tax burden on businesses, because for many they are at breaking point and they simply can't cope with any more. So the focus really has to be on growth, and also how do we make that investment intention a reality.
Let's go through some of the other specifics that you're asking from the government, starting with work-related training and what you want the government to do around that.
So we know, and viewers in the audience will know, that skills is a huge issue for our sector. The latest numbers were about 49,000 live vacancies, but they're not getting any easier to fill. What companies need is actually sort of money in their pockets to help them train the next generation, but also upskill and reskill the existing workforce. And we're not actually coming to the Chancellor with an ask for any new money. We are asking for the ring fencing of the apprenticeship levy to be spent on skills and training, and also the immigration skills charge, again, to be spent on skills and training. There was also, as you mentioned, a workplace-based training tax relief, but there's not a lot of transparency on how that is used or where it is going. So if we have an industrial strategy that set out very specifically the sectors that the government wants to support, including advanced manufacturing, let's actually start targeting those sectors by giving them the tools and, in this case, the funding to access the people and skills they need.
Another point around the British Industrial Competitiveness Scheme. This is something that may be something not very familiar to a lot of the people listening to this. In fact, not a lot of people know what it is anyway. Explain what that scheme is and how you want it to be changed.
Yeah, so in my life, I now call it the BICS, because I feel like I've said the British Industrial Competitiveness Scheme so many times. The easiest thing to think about it is an energy cost reduction scheme. So this was the big commitment made in the industrial strategy to finally reduce industrial energy prices for manufacturers. Now, frustratingly, we haven't had the consultation on this. We had the consultation on the changes to the supercharger, but when it comes to the BICS, we're still waiting. So at the moment, all that we know is that up to 7,000 manufacturing companies would be eligible, and it would be quite a significant cost reduction of perhaps up to 25% of their energy bills. The challenge is as always, the devil is in the detail. And until we have that consultation, we simply don't know. The other thing is that it's not due to come into place until 2027. And so for many of our members, even if they were in that kind of eligible 7,000 companies, can they wait that long? So our calls ahead of the budget are to increase the coverage to all manufacturing companies, and also to bring it forward, because for us, 2027 is too long to wait.
And the final point that you're asking for is around green technologies. I've heard many stories of manufacturers feeling quite frustrated that they really do want to invest in things like putting solar panels on their premises roofs, etc. But they always seem to get caught out by changes in business rates or changes in the rent from their landlords, for instance. What do you want the government to do around this?
So business rates are a huge cost for the manufacturing industry. We pay around 4 times more than other sectors. So it's always quite frustrating when the sort of business rates argument and debate just focuses solely on the high street, because it means manufacturers miss out. But what happens is that every time a manufacturer essentially sort of adds, as you say, kind of solar panels onto their business, they might make building improvements or invest in sort of new green technologies. Essentially, it adds value to that site, that factory, which means when your business rates valuation comes back around, it's higher, and therefore your bill is higher. So it's quite a perverse policy in a way. So we want to remove all those disincentives and essentially have a complete business rate relief for companies that are making building improvements, making those green investments, which essentially are making themselves more energy efficient, but also helping on our pathway to net zero.
So, Verity, that's pretty reasonable menu of options you're asking from the Chancellor, but we all know how deeply mired she is in the financial constraints that the country is under. How much confidence do you have that the manufacturing sector is not going to be burdened by more costs after November 26th budget?
We've had a strong recognition within the industrial strategy that this government supports advanced manufacturing and that it has ambitions to increase investment, in private and public investment in the sector. So I think in terms of confidence level, a win, frankly, feels like it would be no more taxes. But equally, I think that what we've put forward are really viable options. As I said, this isn't asking about, we're not coming with a begging bowl for more money. We're saying utilise the money you already have and use it for investment in skills. Take the scheme that you've already announced, but bring it forward. We can make the parliamentary timetable work and actually just remove the policy decisions that actually are stopping businesses help themselves. Because if you were to do that change in business rates, actually you would see companies become more energy efficient and therefore helping the overall objective of getting to net zero.
And that, of course, helps the government's overall objective of injecting growth into our national economy.
You can't achieve economic growth without industrial growth. And that industrial growth simply won't happen if we continue on this pathway where businesses just feel they are facing significant cost pressures. As I say, industrial strategy has been a great development, but it's still very much in that strategy phase. We're not seeing the deployment of funding. We're not seeing commitments turn into kind of implementation. So it's sort of a two-pronged approach. How do you get really going with industrial strategy, but also how do you deliver a budget that is pro-growth and pro-business?
Verity, thank you very much.